Hi, and welcome back to Meet Your Body. Thank you for being here today. I had plans to record something different for today's podcast, and it's a subject I'm really excited about, and I am just pushing it back to next week because I'm really excited about the subject. And then I realized I had to talk about this subject today. I have to because I'm in the midst of it myself right now, and I need to talk it out because it helps me process and it helps me come to an understanding for myself. And after talking to one of my girlfriends, I realized I'm not alone in this situation. And so we are talking about anxiety and depression and perimenopause through the menopausal transition to postmenopause. Those were a lot of words, big words. I just said it once. Um, but that's what we're talking about today. We are talking about the absolute prevalence of increased anxiety and increased depression during the perimenopausal, postmenopausal years. So, backing up, I remember in 2020, okay, so I'm backing up a little bit here. In 2020, I was about a year after my hysterectomy. So I had a hysterectomy in 2019. And in the year following, I knew I wanted to have all of my hormones tested, have everything tested and work with a functional medicine specialist to just see where I was because I knew things had changed. So I kept one ovary. And if you want to know about my hysterectomy story, I have tons of resources and I have a free resource guide on my website all about my hysterectomy videos and story and everything. So that is there if you are going through that season of life as well. But I was around 42, I think, when I had my hysterectomy. So I was still cycling regularly. I had one ovary taken, I kept one. So I just really wanted a baseline. So I wanted to have my hormones tested. So I did, and I was working with her on the phone, and she was taking all of my subjective history, finding out my symptoms, and she said, just going down a list of questions. And she said, are you extra tired right now? Like, do you find yourself fatigued or do you get tired very easily? And she was a little younger than me, but in a similar phase of life with young kids. And so she asked that, and I paused, and we both laughed a little bit because I said, "Yeah, like, yeah, I'm tired. I'm tired all the time. I have two kids under the age of 7. I'm 42 years old. It's COVID times. Like, we were in the midst of shutdown, 2 kids at home, no school, trying to run a business, stressed beyond belief. Yeah, I'm tired." And we both laughed because there's no way to tell where all that fatigue was coming from. It absolutely could be coming just from the circumstances of life. It could also be coming from where I was at the time. We didn't know. We had a good laugh about it. Fast forward to recently. I have been very open here and with you all about actually the chronic stress that I started experiencing during that time. So, actually, during kind of 2020 and that entire life experience. And then the specific steps I had to take to get out of that when I realized the detriment and the harm I was doing to my own health with that chronic stress and chronic fight or flight that I was in. So I've done a lot of work around that. I'll talk to you guys about that. I am like a natural people pleaser, oldest daughter, firstborn, just all of the things I fit into all of those categories. So I definitely have that kind of in my personality, that go, that hustle, and that chronic stress place. And I worked quite a bit on it. And I feel like I have done really well. Like, I'm actually very proud of that. And also, I still put in a lot of work. It's not something that I can take lightly. Like, I do need to constantly put in work to make sure I'm regulating myself, doing everything for my health, regulating my nervous system. But I will still get, times as we all do. And I use the strategies that I have. I would say maybe 6 months ago, I noticed that I would have days, and this isn't a chronic place like I was at with that chronic fight or flight, but I would have days where and all I can explain it as is my anxiety. For me, that's where I I go to. Like that's my default more than depression is. And I'm not taking any of this lightly. Something though, and I don't mean to sound flippant whatsoever or simplify this, but I heard this once and it made sense to me personally. I heard a professional once say that in a very general sense, anxiety is something that people who are very forward thinking might feel, right? Like worry about the future, those forward thinking, future thinking, that would be an anxiety place. Depression tends to be more of a backward thinking. You're thinking about the past more. And that made sense to me only in that that's the kind of person I am. Like I laugh about it. Something can happen and I will move on from it. And sometimes I've just completely forgotten what just happened because I'm moving on to the next thing. I'm not, it's just my personality. That is all. Versus I get stuck in forward places. I get so stuck worrying about the future, worrying about outcomes. How can I control outcomes? How can I keep the people I love safe? Sitting and waiting for test results. That's where I will ruminate. So that, like I said, it just made sense to me. Because years ago I heard that. I'm like, yeah, that's where I need to do my work because that is where I tend to fall into harm for myself, is that forward thinking. And so that is where I tend to be now. I just believe we each kind of have our tendencies. And then as we get older and as things change, we might fall into those tendencies more. So for me, that's what that means. So I've had these days over the past 6 months where I wake up, and again, I'll just call it anxiety because it's all I really know to call it, where I just have that feeling in my stomach. Like I wake up and it's that way, that uneasy, unsettled. I guess I'll say unsettled. That's what it feels like in my body. It's unsettled, that I'm ungrounded. Like that's how I explained it to my husband the other day, that I feel like I just can't get my feet under me to ground myself into something real or something true. I'm like, I can't latch on to any real thoughts out there. Just everything's floating around. And so it feels almost overwhelming, which then will heighten my own personal anxiety when I feel overwhelmed with to do lists. And it's all I can really say is I can't get myself grounded. Like I can't grab onto the things I know to be true and to be real. Everything just feels buzzing like around me. And so I feel that unsettled feeling kind of in my stomach, almost like I've forgotten to do something or something's coming that I don't want it to come, but I don't know what. I get nervous. Like just even texts will come. I'll have 3 texts to answer. And if another text comes in, I almost like I hear the ding of a text and I think, what is that? What is it that I have to deal with? And it's just because I'm so ungrounded that those things make me feel more ungrounded. So I've had these individual days of that. Luckily, it's not a pattern. It's just kind of a day that happens and I can sit through it and then move on. So the other day, this came up and it lasted a little more than a day. I mean, 2, and now I'm coming down from it, but that's why I wanted to do the podcast right now because I'm still in it just a little bit, but I'm definitely coming down from it. So that unsettled, um, yeah, that unsettled feeling. And it goes back to my story that I told you about being tired, because also right now, I could probably ask any of you listening to this, if you are in your late 40s, early 40s, mid 40s, late 40s, all through your 50s, through your 60s, anytime. Okay. That's what my point I'm trying to make here. Anytime in that place, you are most likely a caregiver for young kids or middle aged kids or kids who have just gone off to college, or you're a caretaker for parents or loved ones in a different capacity. You are experiencing life changes yourself. You're experiencing body changes. And then we have the state of the world on top of that and everything going on and the news we're inundated with and the fear and the heartbreak and all of that. I could probably ask any of you if you're feeling a little anxious or depressed, and you would say yes. Because of course we are. Like, look at everything that we're dealing with. Kind of like asking if you're tired, right? And you have young kids. And yes, of course, we're all feeling a little bit of that. So that can definitely be a part of it. But then, in addition to this, I was in the midst of feeling that in this given day a couple days ago, and it was getting more so throughout the day. Like I just didn't want to sit still. Like I was just wringing my hands. I just needed a physical outlet for that unsettled feeling. And then I started to get menstrual cramps. Now, let me tell you, I'm 48 years old. Okay. Again, I've had a hysterectomy. I have no way to track my cycles that way. I don't have a period anymore. But I also have endometriosis, which tells me when I'm cycling. Like I very much listen to my body. And I had not had a cycle in quite a few months, I realized. And I was sitting there with a headache. I was sitting there feeling unsettled, getting menstrual cramps. And I kind of laughed to myself and said, oh my gosh, I'm having like I'm cycling. I'm absolutely cycling, which was the reminder to me of how much our hormones affect how we're feeling, which leads me to the reminder that I am smack dab in perimenopause. My hormones are all over the place. It is actually a scientific fact that we have increased anxiety and depression while our hormones are changing during the perimenopausal, postmenopausal years. So that is my very windy way to tell you and to get to the point that if you're feeling this, you are not alone. You are not alone. It is scientific, it is factual that anxiety and depression are two of the most common symptoms that happen during perimenopause and menopause. And so I want to talk about that today. I want to talk about it because I know I'm not alone. And like I said, I can process it talking to you about it, but I want to make sure you know you aren't alone too. I want to feel like we are a circle here discussing the reality of what we are feeling. So we're going to talk about why this happens. Like again, I'm going to give you the education behind it. I'll simplify it as best as I can, but I want you to know why. I want you to know that this is a fact because I mean for many reasons. But one of the reasons is that probably again, if you're a woman listening to this, at some point in your life, you have heard all the jokes, right? That okay, oh, she's upset, she must be in PMS. Oh my gosh, she's crying at the drop of a hat. Must be her period. I mean, we've heard this our entire lives. And we have been made to feel ashamed about it, right? Ashamed and embarrassed that we aren't in better control of our emotions, that we are victims of our bodies, that we are just being pulled around by our hormones and we need to have better control of them. Like it's up to us. We're just simply weak for feeling that. And so we need to have better control of it. So I don't know about you, but I learned to hide that. I mean, I absolutely did. Again, I'm an overachiever. I was working from a young age in a professional setting. There's no way I was going to let people think that I was making different decisions or I was too emotional because of my hormones. And just yesterday, so I had posted about feeling sad, and I had someone comment and write, "You're just too fragile." And my initial reaction was what I felt as a young woman growing up. Oh, I got to hide that. I'm supposed to hide that feeling. And then I thought, you know what? No, no, I am not going to hide that. I'm not going to hide the fact that I feel things. I'm not going to hide the fact that I'm an aging woman and I'm feeling more anxiety. I'm not going to hide the fact that I'm kind of sad and a little confused and scared about what's going on in the world and for my neighbors and for my kids. Like I don't feel a need to hide that anymore. And I don't want any woman to feel the need to hide that either. We are all different and we absolutely are going to process things different. And some of you listening are saying, oh, Jessica, you do wear your heart on your sleeve a lot. I don't do that. And yeah, I agree with you. I do. I don't know how not to. And I also am not about to say it's the right thing to do. It's just the only way I know how to do me in this world. This is the only way I know. You do not need to be that way. But I don't ever want you to feel like you have to apologize for having hormones. I don't ever want you to feel like you have to apologize or get mad at your body if there are times that you do feel more teary than others, or you do feel more angry than others, or you can't control some of the rage you might feel. You aren't alone in that. And it's not a matter of you just being weak. I want to give you strategies. I want to give you the science so that you can say, this is why. Like, hey, this is a fact. And I'm going to make sure my daughter knows that too. Like, hey, honey, it is okay if you read that book and it actually makes you cry more this month, this week of the month than other weeks of the month. That's normal. It's not you. You're not crazy. Don't let anyone tell you that. This is why. You can own it. And then also, right? There's an also with it. Also, you don't need to feel that you are just at the beck and call of your hormones changing. Here are some strategies for dealing with those times. And I'm going to give you those as well because we all need some strategies. We don't just need to walk through this life feeling that. I don't want to feel that anxiety all the time or that unsettled. I want some strategies and I'll share them with you. So let's dive into first why this happens. All right. Declining estrogen and progesterone. And if you want even a bigger lesson, if you want me to even back up more, right? I take a bigger bird's eye view of what happens during perimenopause and menopause. I will put links below because I do have podcasts about that where we go even more into that. So right now I'm just taking like a real quick level of it. But if you want to know more about those decreasing hormones and how they change, I'll have some resources below for you. But yes, when we go through perimenopause, so we're talking anytime from 35 years and older, estrogen and progesterone both start to decline. When they do decline, it directly disrupts what's called our HPA axis. So that stands for hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. That is our primary stress response system in our bodies. And there's a waterfall effect that happens when the HPA axis is triggered and we need it. And it involves many different hormones and many different reactions that happen in our body. And it's vital. It is vital to stress, physical stress and mental stress, emotional stress. We need it. We need it to deal with the stress. And then we also need that access to be able to come back to baseline. All right. So when we start to lose, when we lose estrogen, progesterone, when those levels decrease, it directly affects the health and the regulation, our ability to use the HPA axis correctly, and our ability then to regulate our stress. So it needs to be nourished, it needs to be healthy so that we can deal with the stress we have and so that we can go back to baseline. So when that isn't healthy, when we lose those hormones, it means we have a heightened sensitivity to stress. So hear me when I say that, a heightened sensitivity, which means things that might not have caused you stress before may cause you stress now. We are more sensitive to the things around us. It will take less to cause us stress. So that's one. Two, we're more likely to have mood swings. Three, we have that inability to return to baseline, as I mentioned. So we'll find ourselves more in that chronic place of stress, that chronic fight or flight place. We are more likely to experience anxiety and depression, as we mentioned. And then with all of that, so that is, again, kind of the truth around why that's happening. There's your quick science lesson of the day of why it happens. But with that, I do not have to tell you that increased hot flashes, increased mood swings, unexplained weight gain, changes in our bodies, our aging kids, becoming caretakers for our aging parents, all of those things absolutely will cause more stress as well. So not only are we going through all the other pieces of aging that can cause stress, we then have an inability to deal with that stress or like less health in our stress response system. So it is a cycle. So those things all play off of each other. And I'm sure you're nodding saying that. Yeah, of course, not being able to sleep at night and then being told you need sleep to feel less stress, like that's probably going to cause you more stress. And then the decreased estrogen in your system means that your body doesn't know how to deal with that increased stress that you feel. Oh my goodness. And that's where we are. Okay. And then it's really important to understand this other aspect of it. Over 1/3 of perimenopausal women are prescribed SRIs for symptoms such as mood swings, anxiety, and depression. So, if you aren't aware, SSRI is selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So, it's the common class of medications that are considered antidepressants. And please know, when you need those medications, you need them. They are literally lifesavers for millions and millions of people around the world. I believe absolutely in the need for them when they are indicated. So don't let this stop you from talking to your doctor, and we're going to discuss that later on. But in this situation, what is happening to many women around the world is they're going through, or entering this age, going through that decreased estrogen and progesterone, realizing, oh my gosh, I have anxiety. I'm having depression. I can't deal with these mood swings. Like, I just can't handle it. I can't deal with it anymore. Like, I need help. As they do, as you do. Okay. Validating that. Go to see their doctors who are using it as the first line of defense and prescribing antidepressants or anti-anxiety medication. Most of those women, many of those women go on to say it does not help their depression, does not help their anxiety or their mood swings. So they end up feeling worse about it because they're not being helped. And the reason is those medications don't deal with the underlying cause of decreased estrogen and progesterone, which is what is causing those mood swings and anxiety and depression. So many experts agree now that the first line of defense needs to be all the other things that we're going to talk about in the second half of this podcast, possibly including HRT if you're a candidate for HRT. But I want to just put an emphasis on this in case you are one of those women seeking help or looking for any kind of support in these symptoms that you're feeling: anxiety, mood swings, depression. And you see your doctor and their first line of defense or their first recommendation is, hey, let's just try this antidepressant first. Ask questions. Can you tell me why? Or can you test my hormones? Or is there another doctor maybe I can talk to? Like, there are so many other things that in this case, like in this specific case, that if these symptoms are coming on because of decreased estrogen, just please know there are other things that might be more primary helpers in this, again, in this specific case. So I definitely wanted to touch on that because that's a common thing being talked about in the medical field right now. All right. So we are next going to get into the strategies that can help in these situations. And first, we are going to hear from our sponsors who make this podcast possible. We are pretty serious about hydration in my family. Between being active and living at altitude, our hydration needs are no joke. But I saw firsthand yesterday what can happen when a body doesn't stay hydrated. My dad actually had a fall, which was pretty scary for all of us. And after an afternoon at the hospital and lots of tests, they gave it the cause of dehydration. You better believe I gave him a very long and loving talk afterwards about the need to stay hydrated at all ages and all activity levels. While water is our first line of defense, I also count on electrolytes to really give our bodies the important components to stay as hydrated as possible. I 100% personally notice a difference in how I feel when I regularly include electrolytes in my day. Staying hydrated isn't just about water. You also need electrolytes. That's why I love Cure. It's clean, it tastes great, and it actually works. For Meet Your Body listeners, you can get 20% off your first order at curehydration.com/MYB with code MYB. And if you get a post-purchase survey, make sure to let them know you heard about Cure right here. It really helps support the show. And here's a bonus. Cure is FSA and HSA approved, so you can use your FSA or HSA funds to stay hydrated the smart way. Don't just drink more water, upgrade it with Cure. So let's talk about what we can do to really nourish ourselves during this time when we might be feeling any of those symptoms. So, the first thing I want to put a pin in is we are talking today about like some really actionable steps that you can kind of take in the moment, like in those actual times and days that you might be feeling those symptoms coming on or you're in the full throes of them. But this is more than just those like specific times. We need to really have strategies to support our nervous systems as a whole. I mean, we're playing the long game, right? Like, this isn't something that's just fixed in a week. So, you want to really have both categories. So, I'm going to have the link below to a podcast I have all about nourishing your nervous system, like those bigger strategies and habits you can start to put into play. So I want you to go listen to that also after this. And again, I'll have the link below in the show notes and in the description about how to nourish your nervous system. So I definitely want to take a moment to touch on that. And in that, we talk about sleep, we talk about turning screens off at night and all of those kind of things. So make sure you listen to that. Today, we're going to talk about those steps that you can really take again in the moment because I find they're both really important. Those bigger steps, those nourishing your nervous system steps, that's what's helped me get out of that chronic stress place and really feel like I'm in that healthy place overall. But when I wake up and I feel that unsettled feeling lately, some of those can go out the window, right? I just say, oh my gosh, how do I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to feel this way right now. So these are some things that I have found that can help in those moments. First, and again, this is going to be a little more long-term one, but I really want to mention it. See your doctor, especially if you're in a point when you're just kind of hearing about this or you're just starting your journey with this. See a trusted healthcare professional, and that might be your PCP. It might be a functional medicine doctor that you know. It might even be someone online, but it's worth having that hormone panel done. It's worth having some of those levels checked. It's just worth having a discussion if it feels applicable and it feels good to your body to start that way. That can also be later on down the line. Like maybe you start with some of these really doable strategies in the moment right now. You start with that nourishing your nervous system and you say, if I'm not feeling better in 4 or 6 weeks, I'm going to see my doctor then. You have to find the strategy that's right for you. But I do want to make sure that I bring that up as a piece because it can definitely have a place to discuss options of HRT and just know that it just is one spoke of the wheel. I know it's not for everyone. And I don't want you to feel pressurized that it needs to be the only thing that you do. It's one spoke on the wheel, one spoke of the wheel of many things that we want to make sure we're taking care of when it comes to our health and our mental health right now. Okay, so that's one thing. So let's get into those actionable things. First, eat food. This might sound silly, but really, we tend to go one way or the other, especially when we're feeling that stress or overwhelm or depression or anxiety or mood swings. Everybody's a little bit different, but we kind of fall into a spectrum of either you will look back over the day and realize you haven't eaten, or you'll look back over the day and realize you haven't eaten anything nutrient dense. You've just grabbed whatever is quick, whatever's a quick hit, whatever's kind of comfort food. Your body needs food to feel safe. It needs calories to feel like it's getting what it needs to live. And I know firsthand for myself feeling this way when I feel that untethered, that anxiety. What I want to do, what's firsthand, what I really want is to reach for coffee and usually something sweet to go with it. And that does give me a quick hit. Like it really does. And sometimes it'll even make me feel better in the moment. But I also know that my tendency is not to have an appetite when I feel that way. My appetite goes down. So it's easier for me to not eat enough. And I know that when I don't get the protein and the calories I need, my anxiety gets worse. Like it goes hand in hand. So one of the first things I do is just make sure that I have some high protein, nutrient dense foods that I can grab. I am not asking myself to make big meals. I am not asking myself to even love the food that I'm eating. I am saying to my body, I'm going to take care of you during this time. And the best that I can do, and I'll just tell you the past 3 days, the best that I've been able to do is I grilled a bunch of chicken because I'm like, I need that. I just need a quick protein source because that's all I can do. And I have a quick protein source. So I grilled a bunch of chicken. I cut a couple avocados and mixed them with lime. So I had like my avocado and fiber intake ready to go. I have cottage cheese in the fridge that I can grab. And then I also asked my family, like, hey, can you guys help with dinner tonight? I can't think of anything that, because I just couldn't. I couldn't think of anything that sounded good. And I am the maker of food in our house. And I just couldn't, like, I couldn't attach my head, my brain to any big meal that sounded like I wanted to make it. I just wanted spaghetti with marinara sauce. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. And what's funny is I was feeling bad about that. And you should have seen my kids. They looked up. Yes. Can we make our own? You want to make your own dinner? Yes. We want breakfast for dinner. By all means, yes. That sounds amazing. And my husband got all excited. So we all went in the kitchen. They made breakfast for dinner. I made my plain spaghetti with meat sauce, had some chicken with it. And I am telling you, that was nourishment to my body. I didn't ask myself, are these the perfect macros? I didn't have a vegetable with it, you guys. I did not have a vegetable with it. I'm telling you right now, I did not. But I had food, okay? I had food that I made that nourished my body. I literally heard my body saying, thank you. Thank you for giving me food. So I want you to eat, okay? I want you to eat and I want you to make it nourishing if you can. But I'm letting you off the hook. It doesn't have to be a big homemade meal. It doesn't have to have all the macro components. It doesn't need all of that. But is it food that will nourish you? And then, yeah, I had the coffee. And I have some carrot cake in the fridge from my birthday or from the freezer, and I'll probably defrost a piece later today because now that sounds really good. So I'm not going to make myself feel bad if I really want that, but I'm going to make sure I'm also nourishing and feeding myself the food that I know I need to support myself to actually help my anxiety because it does. So that's food. Number two, stay hydrated. Like, do you have water close to you right this moment? Right this very moment, do you have water close to you? Do you have electrolytes? Are you taking a break every hour to make sure you're drinking a glass of water? Like hydration key. When your body is dehydrated, your anxiety will increase. You need to physically support your body. Someone asked me recently, like, what are quick things I can do in the moment if I'm feeling stressed? Get up and walk around. Like, get out of wherever you are and just stand up and walk around into a different room, even. Take deep breaths, drink a glass of water, like quick things that can serve you in the moment. So, food, hydration. Deep breaths is next. I just mentioned it. Take 5 deep breaths in that moment, in through your nose, out through your mouth. Deep breaths are one of the quickest ways to get your body into a regulated nervous system state. Deep breaths. The next one. This might be hard for some of you who haven't done this kind of work before, where you've actually talked to your body, but it's very powerful and it actually works, I promise. So if you're feeling, and this works more for the anxiety spectrum, but it can work either place. And it can work from a place of rage and anger also. Take a moment, take your 5 deep breaths, and then say to your body, thank you. Thank you for trying to keep me safe. Whether it's through being anxious, whether it's through being worried, whether it's through being sad, whether it's through feeling mad and angry right now, I know what you're trying to do is use a strategy to keep me safe. And I appreciate it, but I don't need that strategy right now. That's not helping me in this moment. So you don't need to feel that. And then you can take it a step farther and say, I'm actually safe right now. Like I feel my feet on the ground. And sometimes I take it another step and say, I feel my feet on the ground. I see my family members safe around me. I see them right here. I have clothes on my back. I'm about to eat a meal of food. I'm good. Like I'm good in this moment. So thank you. But we can take that anger, sadness, worry, and we can set it aside for now. I promise you that might sound very new to you, but it's very effective and very, very powerful. The next thing, do something with your body. Like in that moment. That's why I said just stand up and walk around. And if you're at work, that might be the most you can do in the moment. But if you have even a little bit of a longer break, get up, go do some housework, do a load of laundry, wash the dishes, do your workout, go on a walk, go do yard work, paint something, dance in the kitchen to a song, whatever it is that you're using your body, like use it physically. We know it's a proven fact that our bodies process stress physically. We need to move to help move the stress out of our bodies. Okay, so move. And that it can also have this added benefit that if you're in the middle of that kind of rage feeling, if you're in the middle of feeling like you're about to lose it on somebody that you really love, it has the added benefit of moving you out of that situation. So that can be a quick one too. Next, turn off your screens. I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to give a caveat here. Turning off your screens at night before bed is a huge one that we need to nourish our nervous system. Again, I talk about that in that separate podcast. So that is the piece about turning them off at night. But this quick moment one, I can tell you, like I would say 99% of the time, nothing good is going to come for our nervous system when we're already heightened in whatever way. Again, mad, sad, worried, anxious, any of those places. Nothing good is going to come from getting on social media or doom scrolling or reading the news. It tends to just put us more into that place. And I won't go into the specifics, but it has to do with the algorithm and knowing exactly how to rile us up. It generally is not a place that's going to soothe you. So turn off your phone or just put it down for the moment. Like just turn it off. Don't even ask yourself a question. Don't even say, I need to comment here. I need to, like, you don't. Okay. Turn it off if you're feeling that way. Walk away from it. My caveat is that, interestingly enough, I have found some joy in there's a few stand-up comics that really make me laugh and have short little 3-minute videos. There's some funny comics that are even on award shows that I'll watch funny little 3-minute clips. And here and there, that actually just making me laugh out loud, that can be like the counter to the doom scrolling. But the thing is, I have to go somewhere else to find them. Like, I'm not going to scroll through Instagram to find the funny things because I have to go through the hard things to find them. So I'm just giving that little caveat because maybe you find like an old show that you love that makes you laugh or is really heartwarming to you. Like some of those nostalgic things, or again, the things that are just funny to you. Maybe you keep a separate file or a separate place that you can turn to for those, because I think there can be some quick healing properties in those. They are for me, because again, they just make me laugh out loud and I think of something totally different. But just make sure, again, my caveat is you can't be doom scrolling to get to those things. But in the moment, if you're feeling any of those feelings, put your phone down. It most likely is not going to help. Okay. The next is find that one person that you can just unload on and like send the most honest text to or leave a message saying, oh my gosh, this is how I'm feeling today. Are you feeling this too? Community has so much power. And I also feel in this situation that if you just have one or two really safe people, that can be really healing and helpful. I don't mean the big Facebook groups and the big forums about this, because sometimes that really strong group think, for me at least, it can go too much into the place of, oh, like really hateful rhetoric around it. And that this is just me personally. I've realized that doesn't help me. Like that again goes into a spiral of anger about it. And I more just want some like that, those one or two people who feel super safe to me, who know me as a person, who love me as a person, that I can say, oh my gosh, my mind is spiraling today, like spiraling. And I say it out loud. It helps me dump it out of my brain. It puts it into a safe place. We use something called Marco Polo, my friend and I. So we leave these little video messages. Again, super safe place. No one else sees them, but she sees it and she says, oh my gosh, I was feeling this too. And we can share. So I think having those one or two really safe people who are going through a similar time can be helpful. And then, of course, the bigger habits that we discussed. Like those are the things that in the moment can help. Okay. So if you're in the moment of feeling any of those feelings, make sure check in. Have I eaten? Have I fed my body some food? I'm going to drink a big glass of water. Take your 5 breaths. Take your deep breaths. Talk to your body. Thank you, body. Thank you for trying to keep me safe in this moment. I appreciate it, but we don't need it right now. And also, thank you. Feel yourself in a safe place with your feet on the ground, with clothes on your back. Put your phone down. Put it down in that moment. Find that one person you can shoot off a text to, or call even, or leave a message with. Those are in the moment things. Move your body. And then the bigger pieces, you can support all of that. And with those bigger pieces of, again, learning how to shut down screens at night to help your sleep, working on your sleep specifically, working on what might be causing you stress. Can you deal with that situation? Get a habit of movement going. Talk to your doctor or look into HRT, possible journaling, meditation, any of those habits that'll support you. And that is how we can work through this time. And thank you for listening. Thank you for letting me pivot this week and talk about a subject that, yeah, it's just, I'm in the midst of it too. I'm in the midst of it too. So that's it. We're just going to keep moving forward together as we do. So thank you so much for being here. Check out those resources below, and I will talk to you soon.